So today we're going to dive into one of the most powerful stories ever told, the raising of Lazarus from the Gospel of John. We're going to break down how this incredible ancient account is used to explain a really profound idea about life, death, and what it actually means to be alive. To get us started, the source gives us this really simple but powerful analogy. Imagine two eggs. On the outside, they look exactly the same, right? Same shape, same shell, you can't tell them apart. But on the inside, their destinies are completely different. One is unfertilized, its destiny is pretty much to get eaten. The other, though, has life inside it. Its destiny is to become a chick. One has a future, and the other, well, it doesn't.
And that simple picture of two eggs, well, it really gets to the heart of what our source material is asking. While we all look human on the outside, is it possible that on the inside, we're on tracks heading toward two totally different destinies? That's the core idea we're going to unpack in this explainer.
All right, so that brings us to our first big idea here. Two lives, two destinies. The problem, as the source lays it out, is that every single person is on one of two paths, two fundamentally different ways of existing. Now, the source says the thing that creates this split is something called sin. I know, that can be a really heavy word, but the definition we're working with here is pretty straightforward. It's just the thoughts, words, and actions that aren't in line with God's character. You know, things we all recognize, like lying, or holding on to hate, or just plain old greed. And according to the text, this is a much bigger deal than just making a few mistakes. The consequence is a kind of death that goes way beyond our physical bodies. It's a spiritual separation from God, forever. And that sets up what seems like a totally hopeless situation, which the story then shows us through the eyes of a grieving family. And this is where the story really gets personal. We're introduced to this family, two sisters, Martha and Mary, and their brother, Lazarus. And they are smack in the middle of one of the worst crises any of us can face. A loved one is dying. So the family sends an urgent message to their friend Jesus, basically begging him to come right away. But check out this timeline. He gets the message on day 1, and then he just waits. He intentionally waits for 2 more days. By the time he shows up, it's day 4. Lazarus isn't just sick anymore. He's dead. He's in the tomb. From any human point of view, Jesus is too late. He failed them. And you have to understand, that 4-day mark, it was a huge deal back then. There was this common belief that a person's spirit might hang around the body for maybe 3 days. But on the 4th day, that was it. Decay had started, the spirit was gone, and all hope was completely lost. It was absolutely 100% final. And man, you can just feel the heartbreak in Martha's voice when she finally meets Jesus on the road. This isn't just a statement, it's a gut-wrenching cry of "if only." It's filled with so much pain, this feeling of a massive, tragic missed opportunity. It's the sound of hopelessness. But it's right here, in this moment of complete and total despair, that the entire story pivots. This is the moment everything changes, where the solution to this impossible problem shows up, not as an idea, but as a person. So in response to Martha's grief, Jesus doesn't just offer some comforting words. He makes what might be the most mind-blowing claim in all of history. He doesn't say, "I will give you life." He says, "I am the resurrection and the life." He's basically claiming to be the source code of life itself. And this is such a huge shift in thinking, right? Martha was talking about some far-off resurrection at the end of time. But Jesus takes that idea and pulls it right into the present. He's saying the solution to death isn't a what or a when, it's a who. And I'm right here. Okay, so you can't just say something like that and not back it up, right? A claim that big demands a demonstration. And that leads us to the climax of the story, where words are about to collide with reality at the tomb of a man who's been dead and buried for 4 days. So Jesus tells them to move the stone covering the tomb. And we get this amazingly honest and human reaction from Martha. She's the practical one. She's thinking about the physical reality of it all, the decay, the smell. She's basically saying, Lord, are you sure about this? It's gonna stink. Her comment just grounds the whole scene in the grim reality of death, which makes what's about to happen even more stunning. And then, completely ignoring the laws of biology and decay, Jesus just yells out, with this voice of total authority, a simple command. He shouts, "Lazarus, come forth!" And then, the impossible happens. The dead man walks out of the tomb, still wrapped up in his burial cloths. This isn't a ghost. This is a living, breathing, reanimated body. Jesus' claim that he is the life wasn't just talk. He just proved it in the most dramatic way you could possibly imagine.
So, what does this all mean for us? What's the big takeaway from this wild story? Well, the source presents this incredible display of power as more than just a historical event. It's meant to be a roadmap for how to live what it calls true life. And the source boils it down to these 3 really practical steps: check, learn, and show. First, check yourself. Is Jesus really at the center of your life? Second, learn. Get to know God's ways by actually reading and hearing His words. And third, show it. Let that life spill out to other people through love, through service, and through forgiveness.
And that's really the question this whole story leaves us with. If what this story claims is true, if death isn't the final word, if Jesus really is the resurrection and the life, then how does that completely change the way we live right now? How does it change our fears, our goals, our relationships, everything? That's the challenge and the invitation that this story leaves us to think about.